People see the fruit of my life and are amazed at the things I'm doing. They see the adventures, the trips I've taken, the photos and videos I've acquired from those trips over the years, the success I've had with Airbnb, and the amazing results of taking some big steps of faith. They did not, however, see the years of sacrifice, hard work, and tears, of pursuing God and His voice, of using the little money I had to build community and bring connection to people, of the limited finances behind my travels, of sticking to my commitments and taking responsibility even when it hurt. In this case, taking buses and walking 7 miles a day to do a weekly side gig because my car died. I didn't have enough money to buy a new one, and I believed it was my responsibility to get to work. And I needed to do that job so I'd have enough money for my next bus ride. They did not see the years of being resourceful and using what I had, such as my ability to bake, to supplement the lack of resources at a different job so I could accomplish that which was asked of me. They did not see the choices to step out and commit to hosting special parties without a way to pay for them, only to see God show up and provide every single time. So many people think I have it easy. I don't have kids, so I have excess time, energy, and money. I only have to worry about myself. Kids and families are a blessing, don't get me wrong, but they are not the only way to live for something bigger than yourself, to lay down your life for others. Being single and carefree looks different when you have 5, 6, and 7 side gigs to help pay the bills, when your participation in a church community feels like having a part-time job, when spending your money on building community and feeding groups of people is part of your $80 a month food budget, when you make $19,000 a year and pay $750 a month for rent, have a car payment, have student loans, and live in an expensive touristy location, yet you make it work. Not only that, but you are thankful to be living the dream in a beautiful place surrounded by beautiful people. I was never bitter about not having enough. There were definitely times I wished I could have had more money to make my life easier, or times when I felt my dreams and wishes were so far out of reach, it felt hopeless to even consider them. For the most part, I was so incredibly grateful for the opportunities to live where other people vacation, to go hiking in the mountains after work, smell the pine in the air, experience the alpenglow fading to twilight, and hearing the sound of water lapping against the shore. Appreciating beauty has always been a core value in my life, so I did not take for granted the opportunity I had to live in a beautiful place. It was a priority for me and made the pain of sacrifice worthwhile. There were years of tears and prayers and writing down dreams in my journal, years of waiting and wondering how things could ever come to pass in my life. There was a constant battle of choosing to have hope, even when things felt hopeless. There were seasons of choosing to only spend the change from my tip money as my fun money, as having to count out every nickel, dime, and penny made you think twice about whether or not you really wanted something. Years of living in a highly sought-after ski town and not being able to ski, as the season pass was the same cost as a plane ticket home to visit the family once a year. The promises of abundance and having more than enough felt so impossibly ridiculous. I could not fathom their reality. My heart's goal was never to be wealthy per se, but the idea of having more than enough money to give away, to fund projects, to start businesses, or meet the needs of people and communities around me felt like a lofty dream. Then there was a season of learning how to let my first answer be yes, when I had the audacity to meet with a cake shop owner who was selling her business, when I didn't even know how to decorate cakes, let alone have money to buy a business. That meeting would change my life forever. She called me out and told me I couldn't just build a flat Eiffel Tower cake for my friend's birthday. It had to be 3D. If I was going to do it, I had to do it right. In the world of making and decorating cakes, you let your first answer be yes, and then you figure it out. So despite hours of nausea due to food poisoning, I said yes to her challenge. The cake looked more like the Leaning Tower of Pisa than the Eiffel Tower, but I conquered my fear and took a risk, and I did it. Thus began my journey of letting my first answer be yes, even if I couldn't afford it, of learning to refrain from limiting God even when it scared me, even when I really had no idea how I was going to do something or pay for something or have the resources to complete the task, of signing up for cake decorating classes so I could fly to Alaska and make my first 4-tier wedding cake in a random kitchen for my friend's wedding, of taking on debt in order to accomplish certain things, of learning to live truly live rather than simply waiting with my life on hold for certain prayers to be answered, of pursuing God's voice in the direction He gave me, even if it meant going back to where I did not want to go, working at a job I never imagined doing, and selling everything I couldn't fit in my Jeep to do so, including my treasured apartment decorations and serving dishes I used for my gatherings. I literally used all of my money to purchase new tires for my Jeep and move across country, back to Michigan, to pursue God's voice and direction. I had enough money to pay my bills, but I had to look for pop cans to buy gas and use food growing in my mom's garden to make a meal for a friend who just had twins while waiting for my first paycheck. Despite my bitterness and grief and disappointment in laying down my heart's desires to return home, opportunities were more abundant. I had more money than ever before. I had benefits through work, including paid time off, and I was able to travel more. I moved up north as soon as the opportunity presented itself and learned I could afford to buy a small cabin. Even though we didn't have mountains, I had access to the outdoors and could hike, camp, and explore to my heart's desire. I started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, recommended by a friend 5 years prior, and it lit a fire inside of me. I completed my MBA, my main reason for moving back to Michigan and taking my job, mostly for free as I stayed on at work longer than I anticipated. In fact, I started my MBA mere weeks after visiting the ER in the middle of the night due to my first panic attack. As the stress of starting a new job, which required results shortly after I started, buying my first house, moving to a new town, and being gifted multiple massive online recruiting efforts, in addition to my normal job, were just too much for my system to handle. However, I couldn't back out of doing the MBA where a group wouldn't have enough students to start. I couldn't let the others down. Despite everything stacked against me at the time, I moved forward with the program, as that was my motivation for giving everything up in the first place. That decision turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. It gave me the confidence and a firm foundation for pursuing the world of business and finance. I've never officially used my degree, but it did what it needed to do and helped propel me into the next season of my life. I continued saying yes to opportunities that eventually allowed me to save up for a second small cabin and turn my A-frame into an Airbnb. A year and a half later, I quit my job in a step of faith. I had an Airbnb and some money in savings, but no plan. I just knew I needed a break and some freedom to pursue the ideas that had been growing inside of me. 3 days later, I said yes to going to Alaska to work at a friend's fishing lodge as a breakfast chef to help them close out the final month of the season. Interestingly enough, it was the same friend who recommended I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad so many years prior. I said yes to returning to Alaska the following 3 summers, which allowed me the opportunity and finances to redo my house and rent it on Airbnb. I said yes to helping Northeast Michigan promote their regional talent attraction initiative, which turned into creating and developing a massive website, even though I'd never done anything like it before. I said yes to pursuing my 40 Dreams by 40, which included driving to Alaska the entire way, because I also said yes to hiking with a friend in Utah who came down with COVID the next day, so I was unable to take the ferry. I said yes to paying for all of my dreams without knowing how I could afford it, and had them paid off 3 months after completing them. I said yes to paying off my debt. That's right, the very debt I acquired from learning to say yes. I found my ability to say yes eventually provided a way to pay it all off in 8 months' time. Is it a path I would recommend to others? Not necessarily. But to say I was richer for having the experiences I gained along the way goes without saying. I also said yes to creating videos and starting an online community and dream group, despite not having experience doing any of those things before. I'm still in process. I'm still learning how to say yes and figure things out, even though it's scary. It stretches me. It costs more than what I thought I would or should or could pay, even though it's a sacrifice. Even though my yeses are beginning to cost more money, more time, more risk, and require more effort. I'm thankful for the fruit in my life, but I'm also very cognizant of the stretching and capacity building taking place behind the scenes. No, I may not have kids or a family, but I am living for something bigger than myself. I'm living for a generation of people to learn they can say yes to and live without limits. I've laid down my life to help pave the way for others to step out, take risks, learn how to live powerfully to see their dreams come true and to see beauty, to teach them it's possible. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is out of reach. It may take time, effort, sacrifice, resourcefulness, ingenuity, determination, perseverance, and great courage, but it's totally possible. Although I did have amazing friendships and support systems along the way, I didn't always have people who believed in my journey, my vision, and my belief that so much more is available to us. I had to pave a new path and fight my own battles, often alone. There were tears, endless doubts if I made the right decision or if I was going in the right direction, lonely nights, continued battles against hopelessness. All of this for one reason: to help others say yes. Everyone has the opportunity to make a difference, to see and experience the world, to start something new and see it come to life, to take their little and watch it grow, to be the change they wish to see in the world. Everyone has the opportunity to be powerful, to say yes, to live with intention and purpose, to take initiative and not wait for someone else to do something, to put ideas into action, to see their dreams come true, to learn how to truly live while waiting for prayers to be answered or circumstances to change around them, to learn how to steward the gift of life that was placed inside of them so it can bloom and bring joy to those around them. So no, I've not had the privilege of having children or a family or giving of myself in those ways. I have, however, had the opportunity to give of myself in other ways and to live for something bigger than myself. I have had incredible opportunities to do amazing things in my life, to see indescribable beauty. But these opportunities quite often came with a sacrifice. They came after years of stewarding my finances, of giving when I didn't have much to give, of choosing hope and not giving up even when I felt like it. They came with taking risks, huge risks, and saying yes without knowing why or how or what I was going to do. They came with working 80 to 90 hours a week in Alaska without days off, taking a month to recuperate after returning so I could think like a normal person again, and taking 2 months to prepare my Airbnb rental so I could leave for the summer. They came with packing all of my food for my camping trip to Hawaii in my carry-on because I didn't have money to eat out. They came with letting go of dreams I thought I wanted for myself, of the disappointment of not having my expectations met in ways I thought they would be. And they came from saying yes, from taking the baby steps, from choosing to pursue creativity even though I spent the majority of my life believing I wasn't creative, from doing the work and figuring it out, all so I could help others have opportunities and experience a better life. It starts by taking a single step forward, by celebrating the little things, by being intentional and purposeful in every aspect of life, by giving yourself permission to have a voice and be a voice for others around you, by giving yourself permission to live. In doing so, you inspire others to live. You, too, can be a messenger of hope to the world. It starts by being willing to say yes.